Hi, my name's Elaine. I am here to talk to you about adult children of alcoholics. This is a great program, and I really highly recommend it to anybody who feels that their life is out of control and unmanageable. It is a great way to address childhood trauma, and it's a great way to get control over your own life. Now, the thing about 12-step groups is right now, because it's lockdown, we're not able to meet with other people like we'd like to, or I would like to anyway, to sit down in a group and share stories in an anonymous and confidential way, but just to sit down with others who also experience childhood trauma. So I thought it would be a nice thing to make a series of videos. I already made one on the Serenity Prayer, which is the thing that usually you read at the beginning of the meeting and sometimes at the end of the meeting. It's very empowering, and I think anybody could learn something by maybe watching that video. I'm not affiliated in any kind of professional way with adult children of alcoholics. In fact, the nice thing about it, it is an organization, but it's not, it's something that is, you don't have to join it like you would become a member of something else. There's no joining it. There aren't any real leaders, as it's sort of run by the whole group. So it's a safe place. But like I said, or it can be, always make sure if you do join a group, if we get to the point where we can actually meet with other people in person, make sure that you find a group that you feel in which you feel safe. If it does feel safe to you, then give it a try and see if it helps you. Okay, so there's two things. There's the Big Red Book, and I'm not affiliated with like any other 12-step groups. I don't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon. Don't have any kind of advice about those things, but I know that it's similar in some ways. But this is mostly for what we would call an adult child. An adult child is a person who probably functions okay, goes to work, maybe has a family and kids, or doesn't have a family and kids, but basically takes care of life, or maybe doesn't. But basically the child inside still resides there like a child. It means that the trauma that was experienced when, let's say, you were a little kid and you didn't have control over your life at that time, of course, you still carry that around with you, and it actually causes you to act and react in ways that don't work for you emotionally. So we might even be in a relationship, and it could even be a loving relationship, but there are just so many ways in which it's difficult and you struggle and you keep hitting yourself up against a wall. So this is a great program for, I would say, emotional intelligence and maturity. But this is not to indicate that anybody is a child. It just means that child didn't get its needs met, emotional needs particularly, but sometimes physical needs too. I will probably be reading from and referring to this one. This is the workbook that can be ordered through the website. Again, I'm not going to link it, just you can look it up. It's very easy. It's aca.org, but I am not affiliated with it. So, and it's not the Affordable Care Act or anything like that. It is, so make sure it looks like the Adult Children of Alcoholics. Okay, so it's a 12-step workbook, but a lot of other things are in it, and we're not ready to talk about the 12 steps yet. We actually want to talk today about what is an adult child. So if you get this book, the workbook, or if you get this book, you'll find the laundry list. And the laundry list is a really great place to start. And if you have time right now, if you Google in the laundry list, and I don't know, I would think it'd be the first one that would come up, but I'm not sure. It might say the 14 characteristics of an adult child. Not a bad idea to get it, to bookmark it, or to print out a copy and just to go through and check it off. And if you want to do that right now to see if any of these characteristics fit you, it's pretty eye-opening. But you just listen and see, if it makes sense. So I don't want this to be too long of a video, but there are 14 characteristics. So bear with me because I'm going to go through them all. I'm not going to go into great detail about them, but I just want to kind of check them off myself as we go through. Number 1 is we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. Now, adult children have a lot of different behaviors. They might isolate themselves, and but they're also very dependent people too, and lots of different things can apply. But one characteristic is that sometimes we isolate and we're afraid of people and authority figures. And an authority figure, let's talk about that really quickly, doesn't have to be a policeman or a mayor or a teacher or a parent. It can be a person in your life that you kind of give your authority over to, who kind of you let them take charge, and maybe they set rules for you. So whoever that is in your life, and you're afraid of them. And you isolate. Now you might physically be there, but emotionally you might isolate because and it says here we became isolated and afraid. So we're going to talk a lot about fear today, because fear, it's only healthy in that it gets us to do something, maybe to save our life, or just to correct some kind of thing that we're going to get ourselves into danger. But we should not be constantly fearful or constantly triggered. And I think that's an important point to make right now. This is September 2020, and a lot of people are afraid. And it's not a correct condition to be in. It is something that should be temporary and short, and it gets you to act, and then you have to decide, not to be afraid anymore. And how are you going to do that? So if that's the way you live all the time, and if you're afraid of other people, then that's not a healthy thing. And in this time of lockdown, it might be that what is going on right now is triggering that exact thing, that childhood trauma in you. And maybe you've never seen it that way before. But I just kind of want to point that out. Okay, number 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. So approval seekers, or we also call them people pleasers, they make that the most important thing in their life. So an adult child might be always trying, I guess also out of fear sometimes, but trying to please other people, or trying to get other people to say, thank you, that was good, or I really needed that, or whatever. And if you are from a dysfunctional family, you might have been doing that, like you had an alcoholic parent, and they never really gave you the approval that you needed, or it was extremely rare. And so you would do stuff, to hopefully get their attention or recognition and their approval. And it just, they always fell short. You always fell short. You could never get the approval that you wanted, because you're either too needy, which we'll talk about, or they're just people that are impossible to please, whichever. Usually it's both things. And you lose your identity. A lot of adult children will say, I really don't know who I am. I seem to be this person that's trying to make everybody happy, but who am I? And some people even rationalize that, and they say, well, it's selfish, to try to, try to figure out who I am. It's just a selfish endeavor. It's not. And when we're always trying to get other people's approval, and maybe it's not approving to ourselves, then there's something wrong with it. So we've got to think about that. if we want to lose our identity. That's pretty scary. And we'll talk more about that later, what that means. We are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. Now, I know for me, if somebody said anything, like I'm actually redoing this video because it was a piece of hair that was like in the other one that was sticking up like this. And I was afraid, oh, somebody will see that and criticize it. It was really silly, but that is like what we worry about. We're going to collapse because somebody's going to say something. And I think if we've done this work and we like really work on ourselves, we come to a point where like, I really don't care. And that's really a good place to be, because criticism, sometimes it's helpful, but often it is not helpful if it's not meant to be helpful, if it's just to cut us down. And we're afraid of that. We're afraid of like that happening because maybe as children, we were in homes where this happened all the time. Oh, you'll never be any good at that. Or why do you even bother? Or you're a terrible singer. Or I always have to tell you how many times to pick up your clothes. And maybe some of those things are warranted, but at the same time, like maybe we got that all the time. So now we're just afraid. We're just so afraid that's going to keep happening. Instead of just like saying, oh, well, too bad, too bad. Okay. Let's see. We either became alcoholics, marry them, that's scary, or both. Or find another compulsive personality, such as a workaholic, to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. This one, it takes a little time to unpack, but it means we actually seek out people like our parents, and they never satisfy us because they always let us down. They always abandon us, either physically, just leaving, or they emotionally abandon us. And yet we seem to seek them out, or we try to mimic and mirror the things that we experience as children. So we pick up alcohol and we start to drink, or we think that we only deserve people that like we relate to. Oh, I relate to you because you're like really troubled and you're an alcoholic, or you've got these problems, a compulsive problem. I relate to that. Or maybe you think nobody like who's healthy could ever really like you because you feel insignificant next to somebody who's healthy. So it's ouch, and that's fulfilling our sick abandonment needs. Why would we want to fulfill needs to be abandoned again? Because it's what we know. We are not used to healthy, life-affirming individuals, and supportive individuals. We're used to people who abandon us, and that's what we think we deserve. So you might think, why would anybody seek it out? Well, people do. And just if you look around in your life, and if that's the kind of people you keep choosing, that's because it's what's comfortable or what you think you deserve. Okay. I love this one. I don't love it in that I don't like being a victim, but I think it really tells a big story here. We live life from the viewpoint of victims and are attracted by that same weakness in our love and friendship relationships. So a lot of these are interrelated. It's going to sound a little like the one before, but a victim, of course, is the person that says, oh, woe is me. Why does it always happen to me? It always happens. Like in figures, right? I mean, if it's going to happen, it happens here, right, to me all the time. And why do I always do that? Or why do people always do that to me? Now, there's no doubt that if we were children and we lived in a dysfunctional home, we might not have had even our basic needs met, like food and shelter and safety or protection from other harmful adults. Our parents didn't meet those needs, but also like didn't, were emotionally abusive to us and did things. And so we couldn't help that as children. And yes, in a sense, we were victims. In fact, this is what this program is going to try to help us with, to give over that. But if our life is about victimhood, or if we attach ourselves to other people who are all about victimhood and they're adults, but it means that there's an acknowledgement of it, yes, but it means it takes away our power. If our focus is more about the victimhood rather than the self-empowerment, then that is a very unhealthy place to be, especially if we don't get past it. So it's okay to vent. It's okay to feel bad. And with a safe person, that's great. But if we're attracted to other victims, and then that's what we do, is we all day talk about our victimhood, like nobody's getting help there. Everybody's staying stuck, and you're more likely to be codependent and staying stuck when you're with somebody else who also almost celebrates victimhood. I think this is even true in some social justice groups. Social justice is about justice, and it should be about getting justice, but it should be also about empowerment, self-empowerment, but not celebrating victimhood. You definitely want to get out of the idea that, oh, poor me, oh, maybe even your parents said things to you like, don't feel sorry for yourself. Are you crying? Are you feeling sorry for yourself? And well, in a sense, it might make sense that you would cry or feel like a victim or feel sorry for yourself. But once you are an adult, you want to get over that victimhood, not stuff it down, not deny it, but just learn to transform it. And you want to look for people that also want to do that. So maybe you might even be attracted to somebody else who's kind of a victim person, but maybe they are interested in doing the work. And I guess that's the best thing you can do if you can't find yourself a very healthy partner. But please make sure that somebody you're with who has a victimhood personality is looking for self-empowerment and self-actualization, because otherwise you just get pulled down into the victimhood and you just keep on enabling it and celebrating it, or oh, woe is me all the time. Not a healthy place to be. Okay, let's see. We have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it can be easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves, and this enables us not to look too closely at our own faults, etc. So there's a whole bunch of these characteristics that I think say very similar things. This one means that, oh gosh, maybe you start helping somebody like by lending them money, paying their rent, letting them live with you for free. Just you feel responsible for them. Or when they feel bad, you say you're sorry even though you didn't do it, because you're so uncomfortable with the fact that they're not succeeding or they're not happy, and you begin to take on your own shoulders. This is a kind of a codependent thing, because it's like, if I'm taking care of helping you with your thing, and I'm responsible for your stuff that you should be responsible. You need me, see? So you want to be needed, and you begin to develop this sense of responsibility for other people. And it also keeps you from working on yourself, which is the most important thing. You got to do that first. If the plane starts to lose air pressure, the cabin's losing air pressure, the flight attendant says, put the gas mask on first for yourself and then help the other person, because you can't help them if you haven't taken care of yourself. So this last part, one more time, not looking too closely at our own faults. Now, faults is something that you're going to talk about, your own faults. And this is not to be self-defeating. I know there's some programs that say never ever indulge in negative thinking about yourself. But the program does expect you to look at it and examine it, but it's mostly so that you get it and you could transform. So you do need to sit with feelings. You need to sit with even some of those faults and understand them, and then transform them and work on yourself, not take care of everybody else's problems. Okay, we get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. So again, this connects to the previous one, the sense of responsibility. But then maybe someday we say, you know what? I need to take a nap right here. I can't like take care of your stuff that you're doing. I need a little bit of rest. Or I've started this project here. It's important to me. I'm in the middle of it. I can't get up and make you a sandwich. Okay. Um, but then we're like, oh no, wait, I don't mean that, I feel kind of guilty. Why did I assert myself and care about myself, because you need something. So we tend to give in. We give in to them, even though we stick up for ourselves. We don't stick with it, we don't, we give in. So we're only partly, um, you know, want self-empowerment. We're ready to just cave in and go back to that sense of responsibility for others. Okay. I haven't been saying the numbers, so I'm going to say this is number 8. We became addicted to excitement. This is an interesting word, excitement, and but it kind of means like, it can mean thrill seeking. It can mean our feelings are so numb that we have to do stuff like push ourselves to the edge to feel something. So like, it's okay we want to go to a scary movie. It's okay we want to we love like motorcycles, and we love daredevil stuff. We go to the skateboard park and we want to do loop-de-loops, even though we know we're going to hurt ourselves a little bit. Well, you know what? Some of that stuff is exciting, and we do take risks in our life, and that's wonderful. But if that's like say drinking too much and then driving erratically, is there's a sense of excitement in that's kind of crazy. I mean, that's nuts. And hurting ourselves, self-inflicting wounds in order to feel something. That's actually a type of excitement that we feel when we're doing that. I mean, that might be another reason that you need to be in a program like this, because you're addicted to the excitement, or just to drama with other people, to fighting with other people, getting mixed up in somebody's argument, or somebody else is very emotional and hyper, and we feel like, oh, I got to get in there and like mix it up with them. Some people think that's okay. Like, well, yeah, I like drama. Drama's fun. And we make much, drama queens and stuff, and think that's funny, but it's not functional. It's not functional, and it gets us into problems, and it wears us out, and we may find that like, I'd like to learn to relax, but the adrenaline thing that I get from excitement, and like stupid excitement, I guess I should say, is just the stimulation that maybe you just don't really need that. So that's something that people with narcotics, that we do that with narcotics. Okay, 9. We confuse love with pity. So we tend to love people we can pity and rescue. We get into these relationships, gosh, we've mentioned it in almost all these other characteristics, these relationships that aren't good for us. And sometimes because we want to fix people, we're trying to please them, but we're also trying to fix them and rescue them. And we don't really know what love is. I mean, I really think that's a funny thing, because everybody sings about it and talks about it and makes they write whole books about love, and a lot of times what you're reading and you're hearing about is like dysfunctional stuff, and it might be that it's codependent, or we're doing it because we feel sorry for somebody. That makes us feel needed, just like that overdeveloped sense of responsibility. We feel pity, and we think that's love. We feel a feeling that we think like helping everybody, rescuing somebody is love. And that's actually, love is, you have two people, the best love anyway, that's not codependent. You have two independent people who choose to be together because it's more fun. It's more, it's wonderful to share and to have love. But each one is individual. Each one has a personality and knows who they are. Each person has that. And you're better together. That's okay, but you're also respect each other's autonomy, And so we can help people that we love. We certainly want to do that. And especially somebody we've been in a relationship with for a long time, they may have a very traumatic thing happen to them, or some illness, or any number of things. They just need a little hug or something. And we can even feel a little pity for, like, they had a bad day. But that shouldn't be like the default, always having to pity somebody. That's not necessarily love. And if we're seeking out that at the very beginning to rescue somebody, then we really don't even really know who we are in love with or loving. And they really don't even notice us, and don't know why they love us, except for maybe temporarily because we rescued them. So love and pity, they shouldn't be confused. This program will help, because you think, I don't know the difference, then the program helps. Trust me, a lot of stuff that I'm talking about here in this laundry list seems overwhelming, and you think, I don't even know where to begin. This is too much for me. It takes a little time. It's not a shortcut. I'm going to talk about that at the end, like the difference between a program like this and a shortcut. Okay. Alrighty. We have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. So, it's denial. And this is why I didn't go to ACA the first time somebody mentioned it to me. In fact, I was like insulted, I mean, like, I'm fine. Look at me. I have a master's degree, and I'm involved in this group, and I'm raising my kids, and I have, a house, and look at, I'm totally functioning, and just leave me alone. And I was really in denial. And the person saw something in me that said, well, this program might be good. Anyway, I stuffed my feelings. I couldn't feel all that stuff from my childhood. I did dysfunctional things, though, as a result. And I mean, actually, I did feel it, but I didn't recognize that it was like my childhood, that I had never learned how to be. I didn't help that child grow up, and so I stuffed a lot of things. And people do that with alcohol. They numb and do things to keep it away. I don't want to know. Or we're told to stuff things because our parents say, don't reveal the family secrets. Don't talk about your alcoholic dad or something. So we were ashamed of that, and we would stuff that. We want to find a safe place. You don't go to somebody that's not safe, or doesn't care, or is too self-involved, then they can't do it. And like I said, meeting in these groups, it's wonderful, because maybe you don't know anybody in the group, which is the perfect thing, really. And we can talk about those things, just like vent and say all that negative stuff that we talked about earlier, that it seems like victimhood, but we do need to, at some point, to express those feelings and get them off of our chest and understand them as something from our childhood. So it does hurt. And the first meeting that I ever attended, I broke out in tears, because I was just like, wow, this is so true, And I'm sitting in a group of people that actually feel this as much as I do, that they actually go. You don't usually go to a 12-step group until you've come to that point where, like, I'm sick and tired of this misery and this I'm feeling this pain, and I'm doing these stupid things, and emotionally anyway, that I need a group. So you can't go to a group right now because of lockdown. If you're watching this a year or 2 years ahead, hopefully you can go to a group. I don't know what's going to happen, but you got to do your own program, or find a safe person, and don't throw everything on them, but have a reciprocity. Maybe they're ready to grow as well, not somebody who isn't ready to grow also. Okay, or hasn't already gone through this. This is the best thing, is to find somebody who's been through this program or something like it. Okay, we judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. Everybody that joins a program like this has low self-esteem. You shouldn't feel bad about it. And don't deny it, because it's true. If you had a dysfunctional childhood, unless you've done this work, it's very likely that you have low self esteem. And you probably have that for all these things that we have up here. You didn't know who you were, you didn't feel safe to express how you felt, you had to stuff your feelings, um, you never got to address that the abandonment needs. So all this stuff that's like in the first part of the laundry list. Um, so you judge yourself, and you might even be a perfectionist. So you try to be the opposite. You judge yourself very, very harshly. And you don't even need a parent to tell you you're no good, or you're stupid, or why do you always do that, or why don't you pick up your clothes, or you're not who I was hoping you'd turn out to be, or all those negative messages. So you do it to yourself. You keep saying those things and judging yourself, and that's not good. Perfectionism is not necessarily I have to have the house perfectly clean, although that could be a manifestation. But it does mean that you are always like hard on yourself, and you have to forgive yourself, and you have to build up your sense of self-esteem. Even if you think there's like nothing there to build up or nothing there to value, there absolutely is. And so this program will help, and it takes a while. It's about self-love, and self-love, it takes time. And when you realize, when you try to say, I love myself, and it hurts, like that simple phrase hurts, or you say, I don't get it, it's a good indication you need this program. Okay, we're dependent personalities. This is 12, who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to the relationship in order to not experience painful abandonment feelings, which we receive from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. And it's interesting, there's this, we look for people to abandon us. That was number 4, to fulfill that. And then the way we do it is, once we get in a relationship with people that abandon us and will abandon us no matter what, we try to hold on to them. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing, but we will hold on to people because we don't like, we'll do stupid things to keep them. We'll give them more money, or we'll let them further victimize us in some way. We'll just do stuff at their whim, and we'll allow it, or we'll hold on for dear life to somebody who was going to abandon us. It doesn't make any sense, but that is what we do. So if we look at our partner and we say, God, why do I do all these things for you, and you still like leave me out emotionally, or take off and go to the bar, or cheat on me, or just break up with me and I got to look for somebody else. It's you pick another one just like that. So okay, alcoholism. This is number 13. Alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we did not pick up the drink. So if you've ever heard of a dry drunk is somebody that like has given up alcohol, that they probably haven't done the work. The work is to not have the characteristics of an alcoholic or a addictive person. An addictive person has a lot of different things. They have out of control anger. They have out of control crying and, victimization feelings of wanting to commit suicide. Just a lot of things, or just numbing. So you can actually numb without alcohol or any kind of drugs. You can learn how to flip that switch. I don't feel anything. I'm switching that off. And so It's not always a healthy thing to do, to numb, but it kind of seems like it. And sometimes we need to do it, to get through a difficult encounter with somebody. But we have to recognize, it's like if we're doing that a lot, we're numbing our feelings, or if we're reacting in anger, or if we're reacting with tears all the time. Although I kind of think crying is a little bit healthy, but we'll probably get to that later. Anyway, we can pick up that as a para-alcoholic. So we're not one, but we're like parallel to it. And we do the same things, in the parallel way as an alcoholic would do. Getting past that is, part of breaking away from that cycle and being your own person and having emotional intelligence. Okay, so we are at 35 minutes here. So let's get to this last one, 14. It's really great. I love this one. I'm an English teacher, and one of the things I, taught for a while is grammar, of course, and there's subjects and verbs and objects, and you could also have a subject, but it's a passive subject, and it doesn't, it's acted upon rather than acting. And I don't want to give you a whole grammar lesson, but in an active sentence, the subject of the sentence is doing the acting, okay, and making up their mind to do a thing. And it might go to a subject, okay, like I control my own life. It's a wonderful one because I'm the subject. My action is control. In other words, control is not a bad thing if we're controlling ourselves. And my life as the object, okay? But we might say, my life is always screwing with me, okay? And then we become the object of this action. And we have to react like I fall apart when life does that to me, or when somebody does that to me. Or I even start the sentence with myself. I am always hurt by others. So I'm the subject, but I'm having to react to what others do. So we want to be actors. Actors are people that take charge of their own life. And I think the way we do this, especially when we think of ourselves as like in this predicament of being adult children, is that we make healthy choices. And even that, I make healthy choices. That's action. We choose. We can choose to react. That means we get into situations that we always are putting out fires. It's like when the glass falls and it breaks and shatters onto the floor, and we're having to pick up that, and then something happens over here and we're rushing over here. If that's our life, trying to fix like things and put out fires and running everywhere, and we might think, well, I can't help it. It's like always happening and I got to clean it up. Who's going to clean it up? But we might consider that the reason our life is so chaotic is some choices that we made about our life in the first place. What can we do to keep that glass from falling down and breaking into a bunch of pieces? Well, we can make sure that glass is secured, okay? What do we do to keep from arguing with people? We don't engage. Hard to do because sometimes they get at our little soft spots and we don't, I want to say something, but we can choose to not engage. We can choose not to get in a relationship with that dysfunctional person, that alcoholic person, that narcissistic person who wants all the attention on him or herself rather than even seeing you, just expecting you to be their satellite. So we want to be actors, and by that we choose what's in our life. If we had a horrible life as an adult because we chose a partner who can't love us and who is self-involved, or who is an alcoholic, or is a abuser, or is just completely a victim all the time, any of those sorts of things, that was probably not a healthy choice. We might say, but I really love that person. Well, we have to then make some decisions, maybe baby steps, but we have to make some decisions whether or not we're going to choose this anymore. Are we going to stand up to ourselves? And is that going to risk the relationship being over? Well, we have to decide how much more pain can we endure. And next time, will we choose to be the actor and pick a healthy person, or at least somebody who we can tell is genuinely working on their own stuff and trying to have a happier life? So the adult child has to embark on a program, and that program can be a shortcut, or it can be something that you undertake that you really mean to build seriously. Do you want to build a strong house? I remember the Bible song about the foolish man built his house upon the sand. He just wanted to get the sand up. Or the little pig, who built his house out of like sticks, okay? But the wise man built his house upon the rock, or go back to the little pigs, made his house out of bricks. Say the thing that takes a little bit longer to do is more worthwhile to have. Now, I don't want to put down the psychological system. There's a lot of good in that, but if you want a shortcut and you don't really understand what happened to this adult child, and you don't kind of break it up into pieces and figure out how to transform it and make a better life, you might just get a shortcut by taking a pill or doing some kind of new fancy therapy that just got approved, that somebody published a paper and they're just trying to get their name, make a name for themselves. Hey, if those things work, great, or as part of a program, but I think you still have to undertake something that you can go through. So we'll eventually get to the 12 steps, which is the program. Today, it was a bit of a bummer because we're really talking about all these characteristics in our laundry list, okay? But it's kind of empowering too, because we say, oh, I am an adult child. Like this stuff in my life, I didn't really see it that way. Like, oh yeah, that thing is not normal. That thing is dysfunctional. And that's a place to start. The next thing we'll do, the next video, is going to be called The Solution. Again, I'm not attached officially at all to this program, but it's a wonderful thing. And if you want a little anticipation of that video, go on Google and just put in ACA, The Solution, or The Solution ACA, and read that. And that's like, wow, it's the opposite of this. It's the good stuff that you want in your life. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, and you managed to get through all 45 minutes of it, which is going to be when I'm done, thank you and congratulations. Give me a like if you want, a thumbs up, and I hope you will check in for the next one. And I hope you are having a good day, and I hope you carve out a little bit of peace for your life and make the best future that you can. Thank you. Bye-bye.